We are speaking about archetype 10, which we are calling the natural. This archetype is in transit from December 20th to December 25th, so always over that Christmas Eve and connected also to the birth of baby Jesus and everything that has to do with the Christ or the Christic way of seeing the world and of embodying the higher frequencies. In the star codons, this is the gate of the void. It has to do with the solstice, where on the 21st we have the darkest night of the year, and then we have a kind of descent into darkness, into the womb, being with baby Jesus in the womb as he's making his way out into the world 3 days later as he's born, Christmas Eve. So this has been a time for the last few days that is a beautiful opportunity to go into the void, the darkness, that kind of fertile womb space. And then tonight is when we're coming out again. And it's a kind of death and rebirth as well. So we have that here. We come out as the natural, as our true expression, as a behavior in the world that actually makes us love ourselves. This is the gate of the behavior of self in human design, and it's a hexagram treading, which is also learning to move in the world as who you truly are, because that is going to be way better than trying to use your mind to walk in the world in a way that's going to make you feel good. No, it's so much better to come back to the body and come back to the being and see what is natural for me. And if you behave from that, it's a way better strategy. So that goes for human design in general. In the gene keys, we have the frequency band. It goes from the shadow self-obsession to the city of being, and this is the human pathway or the gift of naturalness. And as we always say, the importance of having those archetypes in our life, it's not to have them kind of as art on the walls. It's really to bring that awareness into our lives, into the embodiment, feeling what is it to walk through the world as the 10. Next week, what is it to start to feel the vitality from the inside out with the 58 and the vital. So really this sacred union or this combination, this weaving of awareness and embodiment. There's new awareness coming in, and how are we spiraling that into form? That is the highest expression of those archetypes, and it's about returning home and to live our design and not only just look at this as an interesting system or only just geek away about other people's charts, which I'm guilty of sometimes. Oh my God, that's a manifester, and then that channel, and of course, like we've all done it. But come back to our own design and without self-obsession, be really aware of what's there for us to live out in this life. So here we're grouping all the archetypes in terms of the I Ching, and we can see that there are 8 elements. So there are 8 different worlds or elements where the archetypes are living. So where we are right now, they are living in the lake world. That is 2 yang lines with 1 yin line on the bottom of all those hexagrams that are there. And in this specific case, we're going to have heaven over lake. So for me, going back to the star code of the void and what it is to be human, I think that this is just such a perfect and beautiful picture. If you're an earth being and you think about heaven over lake, it's that there's so much peace, there is so much beingness, and it's something that's so natural how Mother Earth has created a lake and the heaven on top of it, right? Here, looking at the elemental energies of lake over lake is hexagram 58. If we look at the elemental energy of 1, that's where we have heaven over heaven. So we could say that if we go back to those basic 8 elements of the I Ching, that the 10 is a combination of the energy of Jinki 1 and Jinki 58. So if we do that in the braid, the shadow of self-obsession is the entropy of dissatisfaction. The gift of naturalness is fresh vitality, and the city of being is the beauty of bliss. And here we're grouping the archetypes where they are living in the zodiac signs. So we're going to be on the cusp here. So for example, this cross. So if you're born now, you're going to have the 10 and the 15 and the 46 and the 25. And they're all cusps. They're all going to be 2 signs. So one of the signs is the Sagittarius sign. So here we have the archetype of the seeker, the philosopher, and the explorer. And this is mutable fire. And then the other sign is Capricorn. So this is the wise elder, the teachers, and our ancestors, and that is cardinal earth. So we're going to be right here on the very top. We have Jupiter as the ruler of Sagittarius. So this is about expansions, it's about higher mind, it's about faraway travel. And then we have Saturn as the ruler of the 10th sign, or in the 10th house, and that is way more about structures, about responsibility, and building things that last in time. So quite different energies here, and that's why you can see also the richness of those cusp archetypes, because they're bridging very different energies in terms of the elements we're using in astrology and the sign archetypes as well. So here on the top again, on the cusp, we can actually see it here. So the quarter of mutation, where purpose is fulfilled through transformation. All these gates are going to have two yang lines on the bottom. There is a kind of death and rebirth here. So if that's the solstice symbolism that we see, yeah, it's the descent and then the rebirth into kind of a higher self, a higher expression of self. In the body graph, the 10 is interesting because it's connecting to 3 different gates. So this is the kind of fork that is the integration channels. The AG center has to do with identity, sense of direction, and love. The frequency band goes from the shadow of me to the gift of self and the city of oneness. And we said before that this is the behavior of the self. So here we have the fork that I just mentioned. So we're going to have the channel of awakening, where the 10 is connected to the 20, and this is the design of a commitment to higher principles. So this is all about being yourself in the now at any cost. We can look at the frequency band of that channel, so the shadow of ignorance to the city of eternal now through the pathway of intelligence. And yes, I know a few projectors that are just like blowing my mind when they are going off in that 10-20. It's like, oof, that's too much, but it's genius. And here we have the 10 when it's paired with a 57. So this is a channel of perfected form. Your life is a canvas and your behavior is the art. If you listen to your intuition, you will always create beauty through your actions. And here we have the shadow of panic, the city of elegance, and the human pathway is self-awareness. Then we have the 10 connected to the 34, and this is part of the centering circuit. So here we have the channel of exploration, a design of following one's convictions. And that is the most important thing here, that you're following your own convictions, you're centering in your own being, but you're not imposing that on anybody else, because this is individual circuitry. Integration channels is individual circuitry. So it's you and what's right for you. Here we have the shadow of stubbornness, we have the city of embodiment, and the human pathway here is conviction. Okay, so here we have the programming partner. So we are at the solstice on the top, and then Cancer on the bottom in the northern hemisphere, which is the summer solstice. But we could also just say the Capricorn solstice as opposed to the Cancer solstice. And then wherever we are in the world, it doesn't matter. You actually can speak about the solstice, because you often hear astrologers, whether they are in Australia or here, it sounds different, but we could also just call it for the sign where the sun is, and that those are perfect opposite in the wheel. They're also perfect opposite when it comes to the hexagram. So wherever the 10 has a yang line, you're going to have a yin line, and vice versa in the 15. And also, if you have the 10 in your activation sequence, you're also going to have the 15. If you have the 10 in your nodes, you're also going to have the 15. So there are 2 places in our charts, which is activation sequence or incarnation cross, and the nodes, where you always have those programming partners in human design, polarity points in astrology, or super partners in the star codons. All these languages and terms. So here we're back to the circuitry. Like we said before, this is individual circuitry. And in this specific case, we are speaking about the integration channels, but also here we have the centering circuit. We only showed you the centering circuit with the 34, and I can't go back. Oh no. So you're following your gut, you're following what you know is best for you. You're using that energy of the sacral center in the 34 in this case, and you are using it in a way where you feel self-love. So going back a lot to that way of functioning like the Black Panther. That's what feels right in the moment. If you haven't listened to it yet, we decided with Rob that we're going to leave for right now the conversation and the meditation that we did on Stargate 10, which is the same thing as Hexagram 10, Jinky 10, Gate 10. And you can listen to it. And it's allowing you, if you didn't have the time for the last 3 days to bask in the void, it's a minute meditation at the end that allows you to bask into that energy. And it's also a beautiful way to start to see that kind of development of the gates also into the stargates. And it's happening in the field, like what's the chicken and the egg. But there was recently on Clubhouse, even the Gene Keys core team with Jesse and Matt, I think it was, had that conversation about star law. And I haven't star lore, is that how you say it? I haven't heard that word at all until Rob wrote his book on the Lost Octave. And now it's coming in and it's becoming part of the community conversation. I've, of course, heard Richard speaking about the stars over the years, but I feel my impression is that it went a lot from the stars into other things that, like the dream arc, has been a lot of kind of that exploration. And I really like that it comes back to something that I believe is more tangible. It's the constellations of the universe. I have the dream arc in my life every day, whether that's a lizard that is walking downstairs by the pool deck, or that's a mosquito in the middle of the winter that makes itself known to me. So for me, the dream arc is something that is not necessarily something we need to do as a collective journey. However, understanding the stars and bringing in this kind of multidimensional cosmic being that we are ready to embody, that for me feels really important. And not only as part of listening to Richard speaking about it, but bringing it here. And the star codons are such a powerful way of bringing it into the body. So anytime we do something with Rob that is free for the community, I would love you to be part of it, to just feel into what it does in you and with you. I also want to tell you that we're going to do a sale. Probably it's going to be like 50% off on everything and anything that we ever did in Unlock Your Design. So even for the Inner Circle, which is the membership that Mary, who's here, and Jose is helping me and Ashley with, we're going to have the yearly membership that you can get at half off, which is crazy. It's already not expensive. Then you get access to all the archetype courses. You get access to all the zodiac courses. So that's like 64 plus 12 courses. And if you buy them by themselves, they are like $55 and $35. So if you want to bring the energy of the new year with some of the things that we're doing, you're super welcome to come in. It's going to start a week from now. The 31st to the 2nd is when we have that going on.